As I said, comedy resists getting easier over time, and maybe that's why good comedies are always in demand. While certain kinds of content ebb and flow in popularity over the years, depending on the blockbuster du jour, horror, the western, the superhero film, the adult drama, animation, comedy has always been considered an evergreen that is impervious to any market shift. Number one, approaching comedy versus approaching drama. We discussed earlier the underlying core of storytelling is to define the need and create the obstacle. And in terms of telling a story comedically versus the same story dramatically, that there is absolutely no difference whatsoever in the narrative needs of a story when approaching it comedically. And the first rule of comedy is to stop thinking that there is. Don't approach this like some exotic animal. All drama, all comedy have the exact same needs. Number two, serious subject matter as comedy, which to some is also counterintuitive. And that's that the more serious the subject matter, the more potential for comedy. There's an oft-cited aphorism about this, which is comedy is tragedy plus time. Number three, what is taboo in comedy? What's off limits? What is beyond the pale? And again, we're talking mainstream films for mainstream audiences, not cult or fringe, but what subject matter probably should be avoided in the service of getting laughs. There has to be a line in the sand somewhere, a bridge too far. And if you remember, we've already discussed this in the potential for comedy, that there is virtually no topic that is off limits. Which leads to number four, comedy of the absurd, which is usually not about writing a story where anything goes. The interesting thing about absurdity is that absurdity is funny as long as it begins grounded in reality. Next, number five, character is comedy. Let's talk a moment about joke writing. And this overlaps something we talked about in dialogue. The same rule applies here. And it's a very important trick I learned early on. One that helped me immensely overcome my fear that every joke I wrote was going to be the last one. And that's the importance of clearly defining and understanding character. This brings us to number six, enter laughing. This next tip overlaps a previous lesson's tip in our discussion about the first 10 pages. To always make a statement about your protagonist in his or her introduction. And that is never more true than it is in comedy. Number seven, not every protagonist is funny. If it has 3 laugh-out-loud sequences that people will be talking about, even in an otherwise mediocre script, we would do well to move it up. Number 10, finally, not least of all, don't be afraid to suck. It can paralyze you with fear just writing the words fade in when you're sitting down to write anything, but most especially a comedy. It can make you procrastinate and postpone and drive you to finally regrout the bathroom tile instead of starting to write.